Excellent. Hi. I met a bloke. Not that I'm into meeting blokes particularly or singularly, but I met a bloke. And I was at a new local, you know, you change. I was out recently, and this is the new local, or one of them. And I met this guy playing pool, and he was introduced to me as Cobber. Older bloke. And he was introduced to me as Cobber because he couldn't remember anyone's name, and so habitually he calls everyone Cobber. A few years older than me, which is sad to say, but Vietnam vet, it turns out. Fantastic hand at a pool table. Many beers later, and a couple of games of pool, he's asking me really interesting questions. We're having a fantastic conversation. And he says, Cobber, what, mate, is it, do you think, is it, mate, have we been indoctrinated, mate? Have we been indoctrinated? Is it, mate, do you think, you know, all of this that we hear about, you know, the war over there, mate, you know, anyway, the conversations went on fairly slowly, but quite interestingly. And he asked, mate, so tell me, Cobber, mate, what's the nicest thing you've ever seen in your life? What is it, mate? I said, mate, it's a no-brainer, birth of my son. Birth of my son. He said, no. No easy answers, mate. No easy answers tonight. What's the nicest thing you've ever seen? I said, well, look, life got pretty tough one time. I've got a friend, well, the best friend I've got, my guitar. And I'm pretty unkind to her, but she's very kind to me. And when no one else would talk to me, my guitar would not only talk, but she'd always have a song for me. And there was a particular song that I wrote that sounded like sitting on a mountaintop in Scotland overlooking a mist-filled glen at dawn. And I looked at the guitar, and the guitar looked at me and said, let's go. So he got me to the airport, and I bought a ticket, and I got on a plane, and I climbed a mountain. Stupid, because to get there at dawn you have to start in the dark, and it's really cold because it's Scotland. But anyway, I ended up on the summits at dawn, overlooking, lo and behold, a mist-filled glen. And that sunrise, Cobber, was the nicest thing I've ever seen. Because I found peace on that mountain that morning. He said, mate, that's fantastic. Nah, Cobber, that's fantastic. I said, no, that's all right. Nah, because people talk about doing stuff, mate, but you did it. You know, you had an idea and you did it. And I said, mate, that's great. Yeah, thanks, mate. What's the nicest thing you've ever seen, Cobber? And he changed the subject. And we played another game of pool, and we had another beer, and I asked again, Cobber, what's the nicest thing you've ever seen? And he changed the subject again. So I persisted. I said, Cobber, really? Seriously, mate, Cobber, come on. What's the nice... Graham is his name. By this stage I found out. What's the nicest thing you've ever seen? And he said, mate, and his eyes glazed over. And he said, it started out as what was supposed to be a 10-day tour. And there were 32 of us in the platoon, and 3 weeks later we'd made contact with Charlie 4 times. This was the 4th time. There were 12 of us left. And we found ourselves surrounded by 200 blokes who were pretty hell-bent on killing us and had pretty good odds. And the bullets flying everywhere. It wasn't looking good. So thankfully we'd saved the radio, and we called in New Zealand artillery. They weren't too far away to save the day. Called them in, and unfortunately someone got their coordinates wrong because they rained death on us. And my mate, Lucky, he calls him, copped a bit of shrapnel in the head, and he's holding his mate's head together, drags him up against a tree out of the line of fire. And as the light is fading from his mate's eyes as he sees it, his mate's saying, I'm gone, mate. Look after my family. Look after them. Say goodbye. Tell them Mrs. Oliver. He said, mate, you're alright. You're alright, mate. You got a homer. You're lucky. And he said, mate, and I looked up and I saw the blades first through the trees, and then I saw the body of the chopper, and I saw it was Australian. And mate, it's the nicest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I went, mate, that's fantastic. And this guy lives this remarkably simple life. And in the dodgiest pub in Australia, I reckon, it's the Hampshire in Sydney, by the way, Parramatta Road there, you could transplant it into any town in Australia and it would fit in. Alice Springs, Darwin, doesn't matter, it's just the dodgy local. And in the dodgy local, surrounded by the dodgy locals, myself included, this bloke raises his glass and says, "Mate, have a look at it, eh? This is the life, isn't it? This is the life. Wouldn't be dead for quids." And whatever worries I've been having at the time, I look around and stop and realise it is. But after that particular night, I wrote, I reckon my life's worth spending if it saves another one, so I'll sign my name and play this game until the killing's done. I'll fight for flag and country and keep our futures clean, but before we go, I'd like to know, what does it all mean? Sarge says victory's getting closer with every shot we fire, but I don't want the pay. I'd just like to say that I'm no gun for hire. We're killing for our freedom, I heard him cry. Well, we may be winning freedom, but we're losing all our pride. Hey, Sarge, where's Dave and Johnny? They were here not long ago. Those blokes are my best mates. Hey, where the hell they go? He said they'd joined another unit, and I saw grief in his eyes. And somewhere from the darkness came another copper's cries. I lit a smoke, sat down hard and cried a silent tear, and prayed for Dave and Johnny and that victory was near. They didn't feel a thing, Sarge said. Their end was quick and clean. But for Christ's sake, Sarge, won't you tell me what the hell's it all mean? And now we're leaving Vietnam, going home. You know, they say we've won. And Davey's hat's in my bag. It's next to Johnny's gun. The sergeant's medals are all there too, along with 4 of mine. They gave him medals for things that, back home, we called acts of crime. Well, there's 3 blokes in the chopper, me, Brian, and then there's Ted. We're what's left of our unit since the day the sky went red. Just one of us is badly wounded though. We hurt for all our team. And what we want most now is to find out what the hell it all means. But when the boat got into Sydney, Brian had already died, but between me and Teddy we had no more tears to cry. And as we said our last goodbyes, anybody could have seen the question that was in our eyes. Hey mate, what's it all mean? Well, I walked down the harbour, went and saw Johnny's mum and dad, and they both broke down and cried when I gave them Johnny's hat. I said he'd died with honour and was held in high esteem, and Johnny's dad turned and asked, "Son, what the hell's it all mean?" When I left Johnny's place, I walked the 7 miles home. My mum and dad were waiting up with my little sister Joe. They welcomed me inside, and my face must have said, "Curse Charlie and curse the Yanks and curse their bloody war." And now, I'll limp a bit, but that's not often on my mind. The injuries I brought back home were of another kind. I cry myself to sleep at night and wake up with a scream. Nobody ever wins a war if this is victory.